Welcome back to Radio Taiwan International. You're listening to Geek Out. What's your cup of tea, tickles your fancy, or floats your boat? Join us as we share passions from people in Taiwan and around the world. I'm your host, Michelle Cheng, and today in the studio we have a couple of visitors from the U.S., Helen and Anna. Say hey.
Hello.
You're so shy. Well, it is the first time that you've ever been like on this kind of thing.
Very much so, yeah.
Oh, yay. So what are we geeking out about today?
Friendship.
Friendship. We were just talking about this. We've never had an episode where we've actually talked about friendship and the evolution of. So very cute. It's adorable. Do you guys mind divulging your age?
Sure. I don't. We're both 22.
Oh, I remember being 22. I miss the energy you guys have. How long have you known each other?
We have known each other since high school. So it's been, we were talking about how we met we became friends probably like halfway through high school, towards the end of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's been probably like 7 years, 6-7 years. Yeah.
Wow. End of high school. So high school is actually pretty fresh in your memory because you haven't been outside of high school too long.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it was pre-COVID, so really anything before COVID feels like it was like a
I'm so
century
sorry.
ago.
My condolences. That really messed stuff up for you guys, especially.
Yeah, it definitely did.
But how did you guys meet?
Oh, that is a good question.
Oh, honestly, I think we met early on in high school because two of our friends were dating.
Yeah.
And
okay.
we just met through like that merge of friend groups, kind of.
Oh, I love when that happens.
Very briefly.
Yeah.
In-laws, you could say.
But like we weren't friends from that. I think I just remember your existence.
Just acquaintances.
Yeah.
You just knew of each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And
So when did you start actually hanging out?
was it with like college apps?
Yeah, I think it might have been senior year. I like had a major friend group shift like halfway through high school, and I basically like joined Helen's friend group. And even when I did join, she was like definitely not the one I like knew the best or was closest to. But
Isn't that funny how that works out, right?
yeah, and I think now like she's the closest person I have from high school, so it's funny how that, how that changes. Yeah.
Do you guys, well, in your high school environment, in mine, it was like super, super cliquey, where the friend groups were pretty exclusive and didn't really intermingle. Was that the same kind of experience for you guys?
I think if you asked us then, everyone would be like, no, it's not cliquey at all. You can be friends with whoever you want. But like looking back, I think it was they were clear-cut friends.
They were very, exactly, right?
Yeah. And we've talked about it on this trip too. We've been like, we were pretty different people in high school, I think both of us, because for, everybody saying that it's not that cliquey or not that, whatever, there is definitely this box that you kind of do get placed in when you come in. And, that's kind of an age you change a lot. Like
totally.
In high school and then even college, you change even more. So
we are not fully formed as humans until we've left, high school at least.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you guys fit into a trope?
Oh gosh, I get this question from my cousins a lot who aren't in the U.S. They're always like, "Is it really like the movies,
like the
high school?"
cheerleaders?
Yeah, the jocks and the nerds.
Well, I make a joke all the time. I'm definitely, I fit right into the nerd box, like super outcast. Actually, like nerdy kid, and I wound up marrying a jock.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, that's how it happens.
So it's weird how things happen.
It's funny how those boxes tend to fall apart the second you leave high school in the real world.
They do. Yeah. But it's cool to remember. Do you guys fit into a trope? Would you say?
I think we talked about this on the trip, where I felt like at least in high school, for like the friend group I was in, it was a really weird situation because it kind of straddled that like the nerd and like I guess so-called popular group, which caused tension because like half of our friends would get invited to stuff and half wouldn't, and then half were like really studious and wanted to study all the time and half were less so. And so I don't know, we were also talking about how like you'd be put in a box freshman year and then things would change but your box wouldn't. So it's like people would think you changed a lot in college when it was like, no, I've always been this way. I think Anna experienced
I had a pretty major, like I think freshman year when I first came in, I was definitely kind of the awkward nerd. I'm an only child, so kind of a bummer to be honest. But I think I came in like a little bit like, I went to a small public middle school and we came into kind of one of the big private high schools in San Francisco, and a lot of people knew each other, and I just like didn't really know
that's always
anyone.
hard to deal with because it's isolating.
Yeah, especially when you're like, you're at that like puberty age, like you're just a disaster.
Everybody's awkward and gangly at that age. Everyone. So
so it was definitely, I think it was definitely a major shift that I kind of went through like halfway through, and so that friend group, in a sense, Helen's like friend group that she was already kind of a part of, like was great in the sense that it straddled those two groups, but at the same time, then it was like I kind of entered into this dynamic that was definitely interesting to explore as like somebody who was trying to get out of their like awkward box that they had been in for a while.
So mutual friends started dating. We have 2 friend groups that kind of started commingling, and then you became aware of each other.
And I think a lot of it was probably the college application process,
which is interesting
because both of us applied to our schools early.
Okay. For listeners who aren't in the U.S. or don't know how that works, let's explain that process a little bit. So you begin early applications, at the beginning of junior year?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like junior year, you do a lot of kind of college visits. If you can, you'll travel to see them or just like do a lot of research on them.
Right.
And then you start writing your essays. You start talking to college counselors if your school provides them, for example. You start thinking about essays and drafts and all that type of thing.
Start taking like the SAT or
yeah,
all the tests.
I'm sorry.
And if like us, we were very certain of what colleges we wanted to go to and what we wanted to do.
Okay.
And there's an earlier deadline that's like beginning of senior year is the deadline.
Right.
And so if you know for sure, you can do that. And for early decision, it basically means if you get in, you're committed.
Yes. And doesn't it also, it kind of increases your chances a little bit if you apply early decision?
Yeah, it shows interest. So they know that like you're more likely to take the offer if they give it to you. So they're like, if we really like them, like we're pretty sure that they'll come if we accept them.
So may I ask which school?
So I applied to Cornell early.
Yeah, and I applied to Yale early.
Oh, wow. Oh, so you went from one coast to the other.
Yes,
and I think from the early, from college applications, looking at these schools, and then we both ended up going to these schools.
Yeah.
There were not many people who made the trip from California out to the East Coast.
Right.
And so we were kind of like starting out on our own.
So Connecticut and...
Upstate New York.
And upstate New York, right.
Yeah.
I went to school in Boston, so generally in that area. I mean, the states are real small; you can drive anywhere, but that's quite a jump because I wasn't actually aware. Well, I guess I had no experience with East Coast culture until I landed in the East Coast to go to school. It's quite different. You guys also feel the same?
Definitely. Yeah. I think it's interesting too because from especially like our high school, we are from California and California has like one of the best public university systems.
It does.
In the country. I mean, even the world really. So, a lot of people stay and we get in-state tuition. So it's like the people that do kind of go to the East Coast go to some of the bigger name East Coast schools.
Ivy League.
Yeah, Ivy Leagues, things like that, because otherwise there's amazing schools that are in California. So it's definitely a jump for sure.
At that time, were you friends?
In senior year, I think throughout that process, we kind of had similar goals, and our high school was pretty weird about college applications, which is kind of rare depending. A lot of the bigger schools don't really have that, but I think our school, just because of the type of school that it was in the city, had a very don't talk about it, don't talk about college applications, don't talk about what schools you're applying to.
You don't want to make
secretive.
People feel bad.
Right.
You want to be respectful. So we became close because we both got in, but couldn't really talk about it.
I see.
And we celebrated with each other.
Yeah, and we didn't want to make, there's a lot of pressure in our friend group, especially because there was definitely a bit of tension sometimes around that process. And so
there is a lot of pressure to apply to and get into, a certain level of school or higher. And I can see how a lot of people talking about it, about the fact that they got in would make others kind of feel bad.
Yeah, and our school was pretty diligent about making sure that people didn't. And so I think it was just nice. I think part of us realized we were pretty different people, but at the same time, I think as we kind of hung out so much because we could talk about kind of freely about college. Yeah. And we could just talk about college, we started to realize how we had certain things in common despite the fact that we were, pretty different in a lot of ways, which I think then made our friendship last much beyond college.
Yes.
So
we were just speaking about this before the show began, but I am in full agreement that friendships can't, I guess it does work, but it's boring between two people who are really, really similar because it's just like looking in a mirror. If I want an opinion, I know my opinion because of the opinion that I have. Whereas if you have dynamic friendships with people who are quite different from yourself, then you get really interesting opinions. You get a wider, wide mindset.
Yeah. So. And I think even, in high school, we kind of existed in somewhat of the same world, even though we were so different because it's, it's a small world. There's not really room for a ton. But I think in college, we both definitely started becoming part of new spaces and very different spaces, but it made it so fun, because it was like a lens into a whole nother world that we could like share with each other, and we're just genuinely interested in hearing about that.
Okay, so starting high school, you guys started getting close because you could celebrate Yale and Cornell together. Did you then travel together to the East Coast?
I think we were in contact. The Ivy kind of have aligned schedules, kind of. So at least compared to like the California state schools are on like a whole other different schedule. So our friends are doing like, they started much later than us.
Yep.
So we were moving into our dorms, like setting up, being far away from home. Like it was all
about
new
at
the same time.
Yeah.
And so I think we spent a lot of time like talking on the phone to each other, texting, like talking about like new people we were meeting. Even though we were both in different spaces, it was like all this like new things were happening to us at the same time.
Yeah, and you can connect. It's good to have company.
Yeah, I agree. And it was also, it was funny because we were talking recently, we met this other pair of Americans who were traveling and they in Thailand, and they were childhood best friends. And, I was asking them like, just about how they knew each other. And they were like, yeah, honestly, we only talk like once every 6 months. And
Isn't that funny?
It is funny because we were like, that's kind of relatable. Like we're so close. We're like the closest friends we have from high school, really.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like we don't need to talk that often because, once every couple months we like we obviously like text. These days
someone texts somebody else's,
yeah.
a meme, and it's like, hey, bish.
Yeah, exactly. It's like on Instagram you get a reel and you're like, oh, lol. But then you catch up and you have so much to fill in on. And now I know all the names and all the buildings and like where she spends time or what friends she's hanging out with. So she'll be like, oh, guess what this person did? Or like,
oh, you gotta
I
get
heard
the
about
tea.
this. Yeah, exactly. Like that. And then I'm like, oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. So it's fun to do that together, even though you're like in completely different, worlds, really.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, besties don't have to reside in the same city.
No,
not
never.
at all.
In fact, I feel like it's the closest ones who, like, if I think about my closest friends, like, I don't need to necessarily text them every day or every week to, like, fully feel like I'm a part of their life.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fun.
What you guys are going to begin experiencing as you grow older, just warning, I'm sorry. Listeners know I'm in my 40s. It's a whole nother world. But yeah, life gets busy, people move, people get jobs and start families. It gets crazier as you go. But the friendships that you forge, especially in the beginning, are so valuable.
Yeah.
And like you said, maybe you don't have to talk every day. You could talk every 6 months. But the minute you reconnect, you have so much to tell the other, and you grow closer than you were before. It's really great.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of also where us being so different plays into it, right? Because, we also obviously call and are just like spilling the tea a little bit every time we call about what's new on campus. But I think part of it is I get to like ask her about architecture, and like every semester I make her present her studio project to me because like that's a world I just don't really know that much about. But I like
so this is your major?
Yeah, my major. I did. Well, this is also why we're friends. I did a 5-year architecture program.
Ooh.
And I studied biology, but I took a gap year during COVID. So so I also graduated basically after 5 years. Yeah. So it kind of, which is why we're doing this trip together too.
Ooh, that's very different. Biology versus architecture.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So while you were in both together on the East Coast, did you like go make trips to visit?
So I think this also helped because we would have so Cornell would have these short breaks, like we had fall break, we had February break. What is it? It's like kind of a long weekend. So there's no way I was going to fly all the way back home to California.
Of course not.
And so I would make these really short trips out to New Haven to come see her, because at some point I had like a friend I could carpool with, and it's like relatively not that far. Or like I would go down to New York City and then go up to New Haven. So and I would not force her to come to Ithaca.
I know, it makes me sound like a horrible friend, but I actually never made it to Ithaca while she was there.
There was more stuff to do in New Haven, so I was happy to go to
Ithaca is in the middle of nowhere a little bit. New Haven's what, like 40 minutes from New York?
Yeah,
something like that.
It was like with the train, like on Amtrak, it takes like probably 2.5 hours, 2 hours maybe, but it's like really accessible because the main like Amtrak line and MTA North goes through the Union Station, which is in New Haven. Oh,
super easy.
Yeah. And it was funny because it was, I think the one time I tried to come up during like reading week of finals, which is like the break before, finals start, my only option was to take this like crazy carpool with people to all the way up to Ithaca. And it was like just the most random. We were like, let's not even try. But it's funny because Helen's fall break always ended up lining up with my birthday, which was a complete coincidence.
Ooh.
So my birthday was we had parents weekend that weekend. Parents weekend was always on my birthday, but for Helen, it was her like fall break kind of thing was always on my birthday. So you came pretty much, I think, every year on my birthday, right?
Oh,
which was really cute. Yeah. I never returned the favor, I guess.
Well, also when she took her gap year, she was working in Boston.
Oh.
And me and my friends were like, well, like, why not? Like, let's go to Boston. Like, I had my roommates had friends who went to school in Boston. And so, like, she's always been in a convenient place where I'm like, yes, I'd love to spend my
upstate New Ithaca to Boston is what, 4 hours drive? Something similar.
4 or 5.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I always underestimate because I drive a rocket ship when I'm driving a car. So it's like I said, listeners, the New England area especially, everything is super close together.
Close. Which is funny coming from California because it's the complete opposite.
Complete opposite. Once you get out to the west, the states are huge.
You drive like 8 hours and you're just still in the same state.
You're still in the same state. You have to fly.
Yeah.
But yeah, you visited each other a lot during university, and you've graduated.
Yes, we have.
And now you are in Taiwan.
I know.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Who would have thought?
Well, we will actually feature your travels in the next episode coming right up. But I kind of want to talk about, like, why did you make the decision to travel together?
That's a good question.
Because that's a big decision for friends.
Earlier on in college, we were both like it was very hypothetical. Like, we got to take these trips together. We got to
always
go, like, I've always wanted to go here. I've always wanted to go here. And we'd like, I think both of us like traveling. So we'd throw out like literally like random countries.
Everyone talks about it, but very few people actually do wind up traveling together.
Yeah, like the trip that makes it out the group chat, you know, that's what everybody always says.
Because it was like, oh, we should all go to Mexico or something, but it never actually manifests.
Yeah.
And then I think when COVID happened and she was like, I'm taking a gap year, I was like, oh my God, like, thank God I'm not going to be the only one out of all our friends graduating in 5 years.
In 5 years,
rather than 4.
Right.
It was kind of a joke or something, very lighthearted, like, yeah, we should totally take a grad trip together. Like, yeah, of course.
And we kind of talked, I feel like the idea itself formed like right when I knew that I was taking a gap year, and we kind of were like so obsessed with the fact that we were both graduating in 5 years, and we were like everybody else, when in reality a lot of people took gap year, so it wasn't that special. And we were like, okay, we have to do a trip. And
let's celebrate.
I think pretty early on we were like, we're going to go to like Southeast Asia or like somewhere in Asia. Slowly it started like forming from there, which, I mean, we've traveled before together. Helen's come to visit me and my family in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And we went to, I crashed her family trip in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And so we've done a little bit of traveling together.
Yay.
And I think we figured out that in terms of what we want to see and do and just the way that we travel, that we're relatively compatible. Because traveling's a whole nother thing to do with people.
That is a thing.
Yeah.
If you are incompatible travelers, it will break your friendship.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like we've had conversations about, you know, other trips that we've done with other people or friends where we've been like, we call each other and we're just like, oh my gosh, this was so annoying. Like, I couldn't, like, we were just not compatible, you know?
I have stories.
Exactly.
I think it helps. Our parents are very similar.
Oh,
and
yay.
like, we were both, I think, raised in families where it's like, you need to go out and do stuff and like.
You need to walk 4 hours to this one location. Like,
oh, that's good. I don't walk, so I'm glad you guys do.
And so because we had kind of those like little teaser trips together where with our parents and like other people had planned stuff, but it was like she meshed well with my family and I like meshed well with her family, so it's like you could travel like solo together.
Right. We set our parents up as besties.
Our parents are friends because
we
set them up.
Oh my gosh,
and it was like so fully planned. It wasn't even like on accident.
So kind of Parent Trap.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's adorable. I love it.
I know. It really worked out for us. And now they hang out and we're like, wow, look.
They hang out without us.
Empty nesters. Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure they're talking about you.
I know. Oh, we know they are. Yeah, surely.
But that worked out nicely.
I know it did.
It is really weird how friendships, you know, evolve over time. As we said, some people come out to be completely different people, and then some grow closer, some grow apart. But it's always nice to have, you know, you're going to think this when you're in your 40s and you're looking back and you're still friends.
Yeah.
That it's amazing.
Well, it's funny too because I think sometimes it's not the ones, I think like each life stage that you leave, it's not always the ones you expect that are necessarily the ones that, you know, stick with you for a lifetime. And I think everybody has like a ton of friends in one life stage maybe, or like fewer friends in one life stage, but those few that really stick out each time.
Yep.
And I think we definitely didn't expect from high school. I think both of us would not have expected. And I think if you brought our whole high school on here, they'd be like, what? Like sometimes we think about the fact that we post a picture together on Instagram and people from our high school are like, wait, what? Like
how are they friends?
Out of all the duos, why did that one like stay? Yeah. Which is funny. We talk about that a lot.
The unexpected duo.
Yeah, really unexpected duo, to be honest.
But yeah, tune in to the next episode to hear about Helen and Anna's traveling. Actual traveling, compatible traveling, not incompatible traveling.
Compatible traveling, yeah.
Thank you so much for geeking out with me. And thanks, listeners, for tuning into Radio Taiwan International. I'm Michelle Chang, and we'll be back next Thursday with another episode of Geek Out.